Hey guys, long time no see. It's good to sort of be back. I don't really know when I'm going to be able to get back onto a regular schedule for you, but I've had something pretty exciting happen in my life, as you may be able to tell from the title of this video, and I wanted to share it with you guys. This is not related to archaeology at all. This is related to kind of me and me outside of archaeology. If you would like to know anything about archaeology, please check out any one of my other videos. If you're interested in hearing this particular story about my vision journey, then please stay tuned. Disclaimer before we get started, this is going to be talking about poking and prodding and touching eyeballs and stuff, so if that's something that bothers you, probably don't watch this video. It doesn't bother me, but I know that it bothers some people. So the reason I'm wearing sunglasses in front of you today is not because, you know, I've got a black eye or I had a rough night last night. It is because as of this morning, well, as of yesterday, I now have 20/20 vision in both of my eyes, and my left eye in particular is now recovering from surgery, and that means it's a bit more sensitive to light than it normally would be. So I'm wearing the sunglasses today, indoors and outdoors, obviously, to just kind of help my eye when it's going like, ah, what's going on? Because context is such an important thing for archaeologists. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of context before I actually talk about what I did to my eyes. And one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is because I'm not the typical person who wants to get their eye fixed, in that I can't get, or I couldn't get, laser eye surgery. And for a long time I thought that that meant that my eyes would just be broken forever, basically, and now they're not. So I was thinking that perhaps this video could serve as a bit of an education for people who might have the same issues that I do, or similar, or perhaps have been told that they can't get LASIK but really want to get their eyes fixed and haven't been told about anything else that they can do. So I have been visually impaired, I guess you would say, or I've needed glasses, if you want to be simple, since I was about 8 years old. I know that I got them before I was 10, but I'm a bit dicey about the specific year. And I wore glasses for quite a while. I also did quite a bit of swimming when I was younger, so I even had like prescription goggles for a while. And then when I was about 13, 14, I decided I didn't want to wear glasses anymore because I didn't like wearing them. I didn't get teased a lot for it, but I did get teased for it, and they just kind of really impacted my own self-confidence. So when I was 14, I asked my parents if I could get contacts, and they took me to the doctor. He said yeah, and so basically from then until last week, that's what I wore 99% of the time. I come from a long line of people who are visually impaired on my mom's side. My mom's vision is much, much worse than mine, to the point where I don't even think she can wear contacts, or at least when she tried, she could only wear like the hard contacts, which were really uncomfortable, so she just wears glasses. My dad is like visually, he can see perfectly fine long distance, but now that he's getting older, he needs reading glasses, but other than that, his vision's always been perfect, which is probably why my vision is better than my mom's, but even it's just not perfect. And my brother needs glasses now that he's older, but he didn't need them when he was younger. So like I said, I've worn contacts for a really long time, but I've always wanted to fix my eyes. And when I kind of found out about laser eye surgery initially, I thought like, oh, this is going to be amazing. One of the big things that I really didn't like about contacts and glasses is water. I used to do a lot of swimming when I was younger, and I was basically blind as soon as I took my goggles off. And it's also kind of one of those things where, like, I know this sounds really stupid and like a first world problem, but when you go to the beach on vacation, and like you either have to be wearing your contacts and be really careful about not getting your eyes or your face wet, you can't go underwater because you either might lose a contact, you might get an infection, it's like that much easier. You also have to make sure that like you can't wear your contacts beyond like a certain length of time every day, and you have to change them so often, blah 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 blah. I just always wanted just to be able to see. So when I was 22, I think, my vision had been stable for a while, and I was graduating university. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try and look into getting laser eye surgery. And my parents very generously offered to pay for it as a sort of like graduation gift, because I am like a middle-class white girl. So that was the kind of thing that they were lucky enough to be able to do for me, and were kind enough to offer. So I went and I did the initial consultations, which are always free, because, you know, that's how they kind of suck you in to get you to give them the money. And while I was told at that initial like consultation, like, you know, my eyes are a bit dry, they were like, yeah, we can totally do LASIK for you, and we can like fix your vision, and that was great. And I was so hyped and I was so excited. Obviously with LASIK, there's a range of prices that you can do for it. And back when I was looking to do it, what determined your price were two factors. So one of them was the type of knife that they use to cut your eye, and the other one was like the type of laser that they use to basically burn the new shape into your eye. And of course, my eyes being the way that they were, I had to get the more expensive option of those two options. So it wasn't going to be a cheap operation. So I went in the morning that I was supposed to get done, and obviously before they take you in, they check your eyes. And when they did that, they kind of left, and then they came back and they were like, I'm sorry, your eyes are too dry for this surgery. You can't get it today because we can't operate under those conditions. Here are some like drops. They put some plugs into my tear ducts so that my tears like wouldn't wash away so easily from my eyes, so my eyes would be better hydrated. And then they told me to wear my glasses for 2 weeks and to come back. I did that, came back and did an appointment in an evening, and she said, yeah, your eyes look fine. I'm gonna book you in for tomorrow morning so that we can get this done, because like I've seen your eyes, I know they're fine. You know, what's going to change between now and tomorrow morning? Fine. Showed up the next day for my surgery, and I get the check again, and then they wheel me into the theater room, surgical room, whatever you want to call it, and the doctor was said basically, I'm sorry, your eyes are too dry, which I was like, what do you mean? I just got them checked yesterday. And then he started asking me a bunch of like really vague medical questions, like, do I get headaches? Yes. Do I have joint pain? Yes. And like a couple other things, and his conclusion after those like 5 minutes of asking me those questions was, oh, you probably have an autoimmune disease and that's what's causing your dry eyes. So if I operate on you today, there's a highly likely chance that if you have an autoimmune disease, it's gonna make you go blind. Oh, you can get tested for it, but just be aware that there's such thing as a false negative. And I was just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? I think it's probably the only time in my life I've had a temper tantrum as an adult. When I got home, obviously I didn't do it in public, but I may have thrown some things around my room because I was rather upset. But I kind of had to let go of that dream at that point, because obviously it wasn't worth it to go blind on this possibility. I did go to the doctor and get a bunch of blood tests done for autoimmune disease, so like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and there's a couple more that whose names I can't remember. All of them came back negative, but again, like I said, it could be a false negative instead of an actual negative, and they really don't have any way of testing that, which I mean, I don't understand medicine, so I can't cast doubt on that, but I thought that was a bit ridiculous. Fast forward to a couple of years later, I'm living in Edinburgh, and again, I'm getting a bit tired of wearing my contacts. You know, I had gone from my parents paying for my contacts in my eyes to me having to pay for my contacts in my eyes, and I kind of thought, you know, maybe technology is advanced, like I wonder if this would be maybe a possibility now, like I don't know. And so I was looking for different ways to try and fix my visions. The first thing that I looked at getting was these overnight contact lenses, which are actually quite cool when you think about them. They're essentially like a hard lens, unlike a soft daily contact lens that you would wear. And you put them in at night. This hard lens basically reshapes your cornea so that you can see, so that when you wear it overnight, you wake up in the morning, you take them out, and you can see for 24 hours, and then when you go to sleep, you put them back in. And the effect, you know, if you took them out and then didn't wear them for 4 days, obviously the effect would wear off. But if you put them in every night, that just basically means you can wake up and see every day. I did the consultation for this at an optician, and they basically flat out told me that while I could get them, my eyes were too dry. That sounds familiar. So I'd have to be taking drops every night to make sure that my eyes didn't dry out too much, because obviously wearing contacts while you're sleeping, your eye doesn't get as much moisture. So that is a concern. And they also told me that they can't guarantee that they would fix me back up to 20/20 vision. They said they would be able to fix me up to like driving vision, but probably not to what I'm used to being able to see with my contacts. For reference, my contact prescription was -6 and -7, which is quite far down that scale. So they told me I could get up to driving level, but probably not up to 20/20 vision. To give me an idea of what that would be like, they gave me some daily contacts that were under prescribed. So instead of being -6, -7. They gave me -6, -5, so it was still like a degree or whatever under what I should have. And I wore them for a little while to see if I could, to see if it was acceptable. And I was just I wore them and I was like, I mean, it's okay, but I'm still having to like squint a lot. I can't like really read things from a distance. And to be honest, given how much those lenses were gonna cost, because I think the initial fitting and like design of the contact lens, because obviously it has to perfectly fit your eyeball, was about 250 to 300 pound. And then after that, every month it was going to be like 50 pound for a new pair of contact lenses, which is not inexpensive. And at that point in my life, I was doing temporary contracts in archaeology, and that wasn't really something that was sustainable, a sustainable cost for me that I could guarantee that I could pay every month. I had to let go of that possibility, basically, for a couple of years. Fast forward again to September, October 2018. I thought I would give the night contact people a call again and say, hey, you know, you said you couldn't fix this like a couple years ago for me, but have things improved? Because, you know, technology and what they're able to do for you, it's improving like all the time. You know, is there a possibility that I would now be able to get 20/20 vision? They basically said, nope, and there's no chance that that will ever happen. Which was a bit devastating, because I was kind of hoping that they would tell me they could. So I was upset. My partner, who doesn't have to wear glasses at all and has perfect vision, he could see that I was really upset. So he very sweetly, he did some research to see if there's like anything else that I could do. And he's the one who found what I've ended up getting, which is implantable contact lenses / intraocular lenses. I'm not quite sure what the exact correct term is. It's called ICL. So, but implantable contact lens is a better, I think, layman's description for what actually happened. He found out about this procedure that they do where they basically implant a contact lens into your eye so that you can see. And coincidentally, there's a clinic in Edinburgh that offers this procedure. It's called Laser Vision Scotland, and they're partially based at the Shawfair Spire Hospital outside of Edinburgh. So I went in for, again, the free initial consultation where they like, you know, suck you in and sell you everything. I got tons of tests done on my eyes. And at the end of it, they were like, yeah, you're totally a candidate for this. We don't think that you have an autoimmune disease. We think that you just have bad tears. Basically, they think that the chemical makeup of my tears is just not lubricant enough to keep my eyes super normally wet like everyone else's, I guess. The lady said that when she measured the thickness of my cornea, that I was actually too thin for laser vision surgery. So she said it was actually probably a good thing that I didn't get it, because my cornea is actually too thin for it. And the more she talked about it to me, the more I was like, okay, this seems like kind of the perfect thing, because again, while laser vision is obviously much cheaper and more widespread and easily available for people, there are some things that come along with it. So when I initially got my consultation for laser vision surgery like 8 years ago, they said to me that they have like a lifetime guarantee, so that once or if my vision goes again, they would be able to, in theory, go back in and fix it again for free, no added cost. And everyone's vision does eventually start to go again, just saying. But that depends on how much eye I have left after they burn away the first bit to fix it the first time. So it's not like a guarantee that they would be able to go back in. So once this lady was telling me more about the ICL surgery, I was like, oh, okay. She was saying that, you know, laser vision, they, you know, even if you'd been able to get it, they would never have been able to go back in and fix it. Whereas this surgery, they're basically like cutting a slot open in the side of your eye, putting a contact in, and voila. And at some point in the future, when your vision starts to go again around 45 to 50, if you so wish, you can just get it switched out, basically, without having to take away some of your eye or anything. It's very similar to like a cataract surgery, but unlike a cataract surgery where they actually get rid of the natural lens in your eye because that becomes cloudy, this actually just puts basically a lens in front of it to help you see. So yeah, I was basically sold. And then they told me how much it was going to cost, and I was like, oh, it's not cheap. It's not even close to being cheap. It is definitely a significant amount of money. I'm not going to say exactly how much I spent because A, that's my own personal business, and B, it's different for everyone. Again, because my eyes are the way they are, I ended up having to get the more expensive option, whereas that might not be the case for someone else. So after I did the free consultation and she kind of gave me a background to what the surgery would be, I went home to kind of go think about it. You know, is this something I want to commit to? This is a lot of money. I don't really have all of it right now. And as well, I was gonna have to go back in and pay £160 for a consultation with the actual surgeon, because this is, of course, a private procedure, so I'm not getting any of it paid for through the NHS in Scotland, because obviously I could get by with glasses and contacts. Why would they need to pay for me to get a fancy surgery? It is elective. It is essentially sort of cosmetic, but not really. So I kind of went away and I thought about it, and then I decided I was going to pay to see the surgeon and talk to him, because he was going to be able to give me like an exact price, whereas this lady had just kind of given me a ballpark. So I went in and he looked at my eyes and he said, yeah, you're a candidate. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to do this. He kind of explained how the surgery would work and like how they have to do one eye and one day, and then they wait a week and then they do the second eye, yada, yada, yada. And then he told me how much it was going to cost. And again, I was just like, ugh. And he was like, oh, when do you want to book yourself in? And it was like, whoa, I came here to find out exactly how much money I need for this, and I need to now go home and figure out how I'm gonna get all that money. In terms of paying for it, I was able to do it by the fact that I had, you know, some savings in my bank account. I try to be a pretty good saver with my paycheck, you know, from living on temporary contracts. I try to always make sure that I at least have a cushion in my bank account, which is now gone. Also, my partner and I had been owed some money on our deposit, because when we had initially moved into our flat, we'd had to pay a double deposit because I wasn't on a permanent contract, but then now I am. So I was able to provide that to our landlord, so they gave us back. And then as well, my parents very generously, usually they like to send me gifts or some money for my birthday, and I basically just said to my mom, like, I just want money for this surgery. Like that's all I want for like birthday, Christmas, however long you feel I need it for. And with doing all of that, I was able to come up with half of what I needed for the surgery, and then I took out a medical loan for the rest of it. And it worked out for me because I had such a high deposit. I was able to do a 10-month loan on 0% interest, so I'm not paying any extra money for the surgery than I would have paid if I'd had the entire amount up front. And the amount that's coming out of my bank account every month is enough that like it's part of my surplus that I have once I pay everything, and it still leaves me with a little bit money left over, so I can start building my savings back up again. And I had to think about it a lot, because like obviously this is not an insignificant amount of money that I've spent, and like, you know, there were some people that when I talked to them, they were like, oh, you could buy a car, that could be part of a deposit for a house for you, and yada yada yada. And like my partner was actually instrumental in helping me come up with some, or with helping me think through the process of justifying why I wanted to do this. Because for me at least, like right now is the time, because I'm turning 30 and my eyes will start to go again at some point. So I'd like to get them fixed now so that I can actually get as much use out of this as possible before my vision starts going again. And even then, when my vision starts going again, it's not like it's going to go back to what it was before, like overnight the day I turned 45. It will still be a slower process. So it might even be 20, 25 years until I need to really start wearing glasses or contacts again, which in my view is, you know, worth the money. As well, it worked out for me in terms of like right now my partner are at a stage in our lives where, because he's doing a PhD and he's on a PhD stipend and I'm still at the beginning of my career, we're really not in a space to save up for a house. So it's not really high on our list of things that we're doing at the moment. We have a secondhand car that we don't have any payments on, and we don't have any kids. We don't really have any other like big purchases or things that are gonna be demanding our money at the moment. So for me in my life financially, this is probably the best time for me to do it before I have to have all of these other big financial commitments that are going to be coming down the road. As well, for people who are telling me that, you know, I could have used that money to like buy myself a car, like we have a car and I don't really even use it. I use the bus to get to work, and it's actually easier because I just sit on it. and read my book. So I don't have to actively drive to work every day. The car is there when I need it, but it's also like, I'm not a person who is really into cars as like a status symbol. Like, our car drives us to the places that we need to be, and that is good enough for me. Plus, if you think about it, using a car, you wake up, you drive 20 minutes to work, it sits in your parking lot for 7.5 hours, then you drive it 20 minutes home, and then it sits in your parking spot at home overnight. That's just, when you think about value for money and how much you're using it versus how much you paid for it, I don't really think it balances out as much as something where my eyes, I use every single waking moment of the day. So for me, it just makes more sense that I would invest money in fixing that rather than getting something that I don't really need. Although I'm sure there are people who could argue that I don't need to fix my eyes, to which I would say, do you have glasses? Because I don't really think this is something that is easy for people to understand or sympathize with if they don't have vision problems. So I decided to get the surgery, obviously. I booked it about 4 months in advance to make sure that I was gonna have enough time to get all my ducks in a row for it. Last week, on May 3rd, I went in and I got my right eye done. Boop. And it went okay, like my vision's fine. When I went in, they didn't sedate me at all. So the surgery itself was at like about 8 o'clock in the morning. I went into the private hospital with my partner who was driving me home. They put like a pill in my eye to dilate it, which made my eyeballs do weird things. I have a couple pictures, so I will put pictures up here so you guys can see. But yeah, I got my eye dilated for a little while, and then they took me into the theater, numbed my eye with a bunch of drops, not a needle, drops, and then iodined it, took me in, laid me on a table, and then put a huge iodine swab on my face, put a thing on it so I could block it, so like they had a square around my eye. They put in the things that keep your eye open, and then they basically had me stare into a bright light for about 15 minutes, which when I initially had it shined on my face was not pleasant, because obviously they've dilated your eye, so and your eye, when you see light, is your pupils go smaller. They want to go as small as possible because there's a lot of light there, and they couldn't do that because they were dilated, so they were actually as big as possible. And they had taken my eyelids away, so I couldn't even squint, so it was just like, ah! But like I said, I had the numbing stuff and it wasn't too bad. But it was still kind of like a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, especially when you don't really know what to expect. Like, I trusted my doctor completely, but it's still like a bit like, ah! So I was clenching my jaw a bit, and I was definitely at points when I could tell that they were doing stuff, I was holding my breath a bit, just kind of in anticipation, like, you know, when you're nervous about something and you just kind of like hold your breath until it's over. I was doing that kind of inadvertently, and he had to remind me once or twice to breathe. And I didn't feel anything in terms of, like, they had numbed my eye pretty well, but I could, like, the lights would move. And like when he put the lens in, I could feel like the pressure, and the light basically just went all the way this way for a little bit, and then you could almost, in a way, you couldn't feel it, but it like kind of popped in, and it was like, all right. And then I had to adjust it a bit. And unfortunately, because I had kind of inadvertently held my breath, he said that that had potentially had an impact upon, like, that makes your pressure go up in your body and in your eye. So when he put it in, because that had happened, the space between the window of my eye and the contact lens was a bit narrower than he would have liked. So he actually had to put a suture in my eye. So there's actually a suture like in my right eye right now. There's no way, I don't think you could see it because it is like smaller than a hair, the nurses were saying. But yeah, that was a bit crazy. And once or twice, like, the light disappeared and I was like, ah, I'm going blind, but no, it was fine. Like I said, it only took 15 minutes. I got up, they took me out into the waiting room and deposited me on a little thing. He wanted to see me again before I left, and I got some breakfast. It was probably the most expensive piece of toast and latte I've ever paid for in my life. In that, you know, how much I paid for the surgery, obviously the breakfast was free. And they gave me some pills to take for the pressure. And then I got a really, really bad headache behind this eye. So I used to get migraines, I don't anymore, which is something I will talk about probably in another video. but it kind of felt, it was like a migraine level headache, and it was coming and going in waves, and I was just like, ugh. And then the pills that they gave me made me feel like a bit sick, which is just a side effect. So they gave me some paracetamol, and then the doctor, about an hour after my surgery, he took me into his examine room, I guess, looked at my eye, he explained to me what had happened with the pressure, and then said, okay, I'm going to, he looked at it and he said, all right, so it's gone down back to like a normal level, I'm happy with that, but if you have any big problems, you can come back in tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. I had a big pirate patch over my face, and he released me. I went home with my partner. I basically slept for about 5 hours afterwards, because before, when I had migraines, I was pretty much the only way I could get rid of them, and it worked. And then I woke up, I had to wear the patch for the rest of the day, took it easy for the rest of the day, and then went to bed. Took the patch off the next morning to like clean everything and put my first round of drops in, and I could see out of my right eye. I can't really explain how close I was to crying, because I didn't want to cry, / I'm almost gonna cry now, because I didn't want to screw anything up that was going on with the healing process. So I was like, no, Rachel, just keep it down. But it was just, it was amazing. Pretty cool to have pretty much an instant result the next day. I had not realized that I had committed my partner and I to helping our friends move that day. So that was a Saturday. I got the surgery on a Friday, and I felt bad making him go by himself to lift heavy furniture. So I went along with him, and I just project managed. So I watched the cars while everyone was upstairs getting stuff and bringing it down, and then I went and I helped get pizza and Timbits when we moved to our friends to their new place. I was able to wear my left contact because obviously that eye isn't fixed for the first couple days, but after that, they don't want you wearing your contacts right before the surgery. So I went into an optician like that weekend, and I had her take out my right lens of my glasses so that I could see with my left one. But then when I put them on, I was like, no, 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 no. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're farther down your face. So like this eye sort of sees through this lens a little bit, or whatever. But the minute I put it on, my brain was just like, I don't understand what's going on and you need to stop right now. So I basically put a patch over this lens and went around with just my correct eye for a week. So that led to a lot of really interesting conversations at work, because obviously I didn't have like any bruising, nothing around my eye, and they all saw me with a pirate patch and they were just like, what is going on? And then yeah, yesterday I went in for my second surgery, same time, same place. This time I actually remembered to breathe. I just focused the entire time, because like I said, like you're not sedated and they don't put your head into a vice or anything. So you just have to look at this light the whole time and not move your head. So the whole time I was just in my head, I was like, don't move your head, don't move your head, breathe, don't move your head, breathe, don't move your head, breathe. Like it was just kind of doing the mantra, doing some probably quite loud breathing, but I was just kind of, that was the only way I could make myself focus on it. And as a result, the surgeon said that it actually went better than my right eye. He didn't have to put a suture into my left eye. You can actually see they marked on my forehead an arrow, which eye they were supposed to do. Came out, got my headache behind my left eye, which I was hoping not to get since the surgery went better. But when I was talking to the doctor, he was saying that, you know, because with this surgery, they're basically forcing your pupil to like contract and shrink basically on demand a couple times. It is essentially a muscle in a way. So like it's a bit sore, and that's what's causing it. He thinks, well, he was saying that he thinks that's what's causing the headaches. But obviously they were really great at the hospital in terms of like, they took care of me, like any concerns that I had got taken care of. The day after my first surgery, the doctor called me on his like private mobile cell phone to check that I was okay, which was like so nice. So I got my headache, went home. So he checked me again to make sure everything was settling nicely. He said it was fine, it went perfectly. Came home yesterday, slept for 5 hours, got up, took it easy for the rest of the evening. And then I woke up this morning and I could see. I can see perfectly with 20/20 vision. What the F? What world do we live in where these things are possible? It is just like so amazing. So like as you can see as well, this eye looks so much better than my right one did right after, because it was quite red for a while, whereas this one is just like, oh, whatever, what happened? I didn't even notice. So I'm in recovery for the next little while. I've got antibiotics and steroid drops that I'm going to be putting into my eyes for quite some time. And then in about a month, I'm going to have to go back to the doctor and get my stitch taken out of my right eye, and he's just going to check to make sure that everything's looking fine. But other than that, I'm fantastic. I can see things. My vision is actually better than when I was wearing contacts or glasses. Like, I can see. It's just honestly, it's amazing. And I really couldn't thank my parents enough for helping me out with some of paying for this. The doctors and all the nurses at the hospital, I just want to really thank them. This has been amazing. Obviously, I'm just like one day after the surgery, but the fact that I can already see stuff is just like so exciting, and oh my god. And I'm like going on vacation this summer, and I'm gonna be able to go swimming and put my head in the water and be able to see things and not have to worry about getting an infection. And like, I can like wake up in the middle of the night and like go and do stuff without like stumbling around blind because I can't see anything. And I'm gonna be able to like see my partner's face the like first thing when I wake up in the morning, which like sounds really sappy and stupid, but like that's just gonna be really great. The amount of space that I'm gonna be saving in my luggage from not having to pack my glasses, my contact fluid, my contact case, like the money that I'm gonna have to save is not gonna make me break even close, I think, on how much I spent on the surgery, but it's gonna save me money every month after I finish my payments in having to pay for new contacts, new glasses, and contact fluid. Contact fluid is my #1 thing that I hate getting because I always seem to run out of it right when I'm inconveniently not in a place where I can quickly get some more. I'm gonna save so much like shelf space in my bathroom from not having to have all of that stuff on there. You know, sleepovers, going places, all this stuff that I'm not gonna have to remember anymore. All small things, but like is really making an impact. Yeah, this has been my video about my, I guess, vision journey, as I said at the beginning, from when I was 8 and I started not being able to see things on the board to where I'm 29 and I can now have 20/20 vision. And it's so exciting! Yeah! So, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. For anyone who has maybe had a similar experience to me where they can't get LASIK, but they really do want to get their vision fixed, maybe this has given you some inspiration to see if you are eligible for this kind of surgery. Feel free to follow me on social media, as always, linked down in the description below. If you want to find out about life working as a professional commercial archaeologist in the UK, please check out the rest of the videos on my channel. I promise they're at least somewhat interesting to some people. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have anything that you'd like to add or any questions for me, please put them in the comments down below. And if you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe. I will see you guys later. Bye.